Okay, so I'm going to tell you about my OC called Stark. He is a little bit of a mess. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I talk about Stark. So, okay, let's go to his little bio, because I've made him a little bio on my Tumblr. Okay, so, another horribly traumatized man in his 20s who struggles with trust and addiction to parties and alcohol. He's a ginger, spotted with freckles, never seen without his trusty sunglasses and jacket. His story is long, but to summarize, his parents were drug addicted and killed in front of him at around the age of 6 years old, where he then spent his early years moving between the childcare system and the streets of New York. Also, there's a lot to do with gangs in between that I forgot to put in, but to explain, basically, a gang kills his parents. They leave him and sort of say to him, okay, I'm gonna let you figure it out for yourself, and if you're still alive, we'll take you in. He goes out trying to find a way to survive, and yeah, eventually he does end up in the gang, which isn't great. But anyway, eventually he couch surfed his way into living with friends, where he attended high school for a short amount of time. Just as things were getting worse, he gets onto an apprenticeship as a performance pilot. Basically what I meant was an air show pilot, but he also works within the company, because what their company does, it's sort of like a stunt sponsored air company. Does that make sense? It's like has a lot of planes and transport stuff as well. It also has ships and things, sort of like just a very transport generally, and also stunts. Yes, his life is now looking up for the first time in his apartment in the city. He now has to process all the horrors he's been through and seen, such as, this bit is a little bit wrong because I put killing for survival at the age of 8 years old. He didn't do that himself. What happened was he was sat in front of the gang, and it was basically an initiation. And what happened to him? He had a hand clasped over his own while he was holding a gun, and the gang basically made him shoot someone so that he was one of them. And yeah, he still feels dirty and guilty about it to this day. Okay, so Stark himself, his Pinterest board. Take a look. I've already shown before, but I'm gonna make you look again. Yeah, so Stark, this is him. This is what I imagine him to most look like, but he isn't that sharp. I don't know how else to describe it. I've drawn him anyway, you've probably seen. But yeah, so his personality is he's really significantly upbeat. To explain, I feel like I'd have to go into more depth here, because his whole reason why I created him was to look at how trauma affects someone. So, since I was looking back on the research that I did, my last project about complex trauma and dissociation, a book by Betsy D. Terry, I think that's how you say her name. That book has stayed in my mind for a while, just sheerly from the amount of stuff I learned from it. So, I learned that when children go through a lot of things very young, they can split off into more than one amnesic sense of self, so that they can hold onto these horrible things that have happened and also manage it to stay safe. And that is dissociative identity disorder. And that was something I wanted to look at last project, because I feel like in media and also just in general, that disorder doesn't really get the best representation or the best understanding. And I thought it was really interesting to look into, because the reasons why it is the way it is a lot more interesting than someone, one of their parts killing someone else and just, they're an evil part of this person. It's that is so boring. There is so much more you could do that speaks to people if you used a different thing, a different sort of story in my eyes. But anyway, with Stark, his personality kind of goes all over the place, but I'll explain it as 3. So you'll see it on his Pinterest board, I might link it. He has a full name, Kieran Flynn Stark, and what I've done with that is I've split it off into like 3 separate names. So that's his full name, but who first came around was Kieran. He holds a lot of like the years, like, oh, hold on, let me show, because I have the years written down. Okay, this is Stark. Years like 4 to around about 7 to, yeah, 4 to 7 years old. All of the bad stuff that happened then, he holds a lot of that, and he's very like, he's very quiet. He's like, he has different postures to the rest of them. Like he's very tense, and he prefers, if there's a corner, he'll huddle up in it. You know, like he prefers the security of having walls behind him to like sort of cower into. He's very afraid. He's very not okay. Then Flynn, I actually have a separate board for, and he holds a lot of the bad stuff that happened. That's Brandon, hold on. He holds a lot of the bad stuff that happened during like 7 plus, I think. Yeah, this is Flynn. Okay, let me go and let me explain Flynn to you. So Flynn, he, like I said, holds a lot of the, where is his now? Yeah, so let me explain. So 4 to 6, his parents were addicted to drugs. They die a gruesome death in front of his eyes, and he has to watch and cry and beg and yeah, all that bad stuff. 6 to 7, he's part of the gang now, and the gang initiate him in that really gruesome way. 7 to 8, he's having run-ins with the childcare system, horribly abusive. They abuse him too. Basically, what happens here in that little spot was like, he gets threatened by a man that basically runs the orphanage, and Stark, well, it wasn't Stark himself, it was his part Flynn, who I'm going to get into. Flynn ends up biting the guy, and he basically threatens to kill him. Flynn gets terrified. Kieran tells him, we gotta run away from here. Flynn agrees, and then they run back to the gang till about 8 years old to 14-ish. I'd reckon about 13, 14 is where he runs away again. But yeah, anyway, back onto Flynn. So he is very, very protective. Like, he split really young, so while all this horrible stuff is happening, and he has a very, like, fight or flight, how am I going to survive this? He's very standoffish. He'll tilt his head up and, like, look down at someone, because they're quite tall. Stark as a character, he is, I think, 6'1", so he's quite tall, so he does have the ability to just be like look down sort of like that and cross his arms and stuff, and he's very fighty, like he's very, yeah, protective. There we go, protective, very protective. He doesn't talk as much as well, but he talks to the point it's like blunt and like almost aggressive. Like, he'll be snarky, he'll be like, he has a tone to him, a tinge to his voice, and like his posture is very different. Like, you can tell the difference from when he's like shrinking away to like upright and like very, you know. Yeah, so that's Flynn. And then Stark himself, he comes into things that's Brandon, at around 18-ish, like 16. I reckon Stark would come around anywhere from like 16 to 18, and this is when he starts like couch surfing. He starts like going with his friends and like basically finding a place to live that isn't on the street. So he notices while he's in that situation, connections get him places. Being extroverted gets him housing. So he ends up attending parties, meeting as many people as he can, coming across as this really upbeat guy that can have so much fun and goes to parties. Yeah. So he's like, he comes across as that type of guy, and like he seems self-confident. He seems cool. You know, he seems cool, and that's the type of like thing that gets him to live. So it's like a survival coping sort of thing that his disorder lets him manage, and that's how Stark comes around. And the way they sort of like collectively understand, because Flynn, I feel like Flynn has a closer understanding of what is going on than the rest of them, like Kieran or Stark would. So Stark is generally, in his original universe, very oblivious to the fact that like other parts of him are there and are holding all of these things, because he thinks, oh, I just remember up to here, like a few years ago. It's probably because it was all worth nothing and horrible or whatever. He doesn't really think too much about it, basically. He thinks, okay, I've got this life now, awesome, I'm living this life, I'm cool, it's great. Girls want me, boys want me, awesome, that's what he's living like right now. He doesn't really see the issue with anything because he doesn't remember it. That's where the amnesia comes in. He doesn't remember it. And yeah, so at around 18 to 25, that's when he gets an apprenticeship and scholarship. So I don't know if these are at two different time periods. I'd say they sort of run in place, because at this point his life gets very busy. Like, he has a lot of like downtime when he's couch surfing and everything, so he plays a lot of games then, and he does all this stuff. But when he gets to around 18 to 25, it gets really busy because he's got the apprenticeship, which is his performance, his stunts in airplanes, and his like his just like plane stuff. But that isn't very often because there's not a lot of events going on at the time he gets it. So his scholarship is a completely different thing. He gets a scholarship in physics, which is something he wanted to do for a while. He's not very good at school though, but this is why it gets so overwhelming for him, because he's got to study, he's got to do work, he's got to do extra work just to keep his apartment, you know, all that sort of thing. He's got a lot going on around that age, and he's very like, yeah, so he's not able to process it until his scholarship is over. So yeah, he has a lot going on basically. Okay, now we're looking into fun fact territory, which is the good fun stuff. So, with Stark, because I explained that three parts of them are very different, so with him, their interests are also different. So if you talk to Kieran about cartoons, he'll respond happily, but if you ask the others, they'll be confused why you even brought it up. Stark's into partying, music, concerts, and all of that sort of thing. And Flynn is mainly into wood carving. So there's that sort of thing. And yeah, so also random sort of fact that I'm jumping to here. I'm using this is a Discord server, by the way, of it's the alternate universe thing, but it's like it helps me develop my characters. Well, Stark really, because he's the only one I'm using in this one, but it just helps me to talk about things, because they let you talk about whenever you have an interest or like an idea that pops into your head or something. You know, basically little channels where you can talk about stuff. So yeah, when Stark was in the care of rough gangs, he was force-fed drugs if he didn't comply. If he didn't comply to what he wanted them to do, which also makes him feel really dirty and just as bad as his parents. So yeah, he was also hit and sometimes burned. So on his anatomy, on my anatomy practice, I try to include like burn scars, just like massive burn scars, but also like the cigarette burn scars. Also, while talking about cigarettes, Stark mentions in this little group writing thing, at some point while he's talking to another character, he mentions that he used to draw in secret. And the way he did this was by taking used receipts and using cigarette blunt ends with the ash on them to like sketch and draw little cool things. But he'd have to dispose of them really quick because he'd get hurt for acting like a child. So yeah, yeah. So this bit this bit right here. OG Stark turned extroverted as a survival mechanism. He was introverted as a child to be very seen, not heard, unless necessary. And then when he got away, he found that the only way to stay up in the world was to make connections with people, blah blah blah, yeah. And the extrovertedness and popularity was basically the Stark that's known now. His longer term friends, this is a fun bit, that he was couch surfing with, notice and pick up his change of names and tease him for it sometimes. He says he, quote, just gets bored. But the reality is when they switch out, they feel a sense of discomfort, and that's not me. So he doesn't really feel like himself. And it's an ongoing joke in his like close friend groups that whenever Flynn is around, nothing's good. And they don't actually know how right they are. They don't know how right that saying is, because it's like, I think like Stark as a character won't acknowledge that he has anything wrong with him. Like he knows something's up, but he doesn't know exactly what. So he's always just thinking, oh, I just changed names because I don't really like that one right now. I don't really want to. You know, it's still his name, so he just like uses multiple parts of his name, and he just doesn't think anything different of it, you know. Yeah. We have So this is another thing. When Stark sees any little photos of himself, so whenever he sees little photos of when he's younger, he struggles with like flashbacks and memories and stuff. And also just like that sort of nasty, gross stuff. I also have a little video that I might link, which shows the type of thing that Stark does is like a job really, and yeah, it's really cool when it gets onto it. But yeah, so that's Stark so far. I'm gonna see it and search if I can find anything else for you, because there's a lot about him really. Someone, this might be nice to show. One of my friends drew him. This is something of him, and this is my friend's character, and that's them together because we talk about them. I thought that might be cool to show. Yeah. Oh, this is cool as well. So. John the Revelator by Depeche Mode might be Flynn's #1 song. For Stark, I have a #1 song for him as well, which is Omen by The Prodigy. And yeah, you know what I could tell you about? I could tell you about this whole story itself, actually. But that might take me some time, so I think I'm gonna wait and I think I'm gonna wait to pause this one, and then I'll go into like the whole other universe, alternate universe, because this is basically just Stark as he is now. But yeah, let me show you the type of stuff he does. So I don't know if you could see on the video itself, but this is the type of thing he does. I'll link it anyway, most likely. But yeah, he does like sort of like cool stuff. Like that. And there's also a bit in here where it shows like, okay, well that's just like tricks and all stuff, and it goes into like stuff like that. So hold on. Yeah, like he works in a jet usually, so his jet will like have things where it can shoot stuff, and also yes, like that. So it can shoot things like that, and then it can also do like, I don't know if it shows it in this video, but there's like it's like color clouds really, like I don't know, because it can shoot out like color. I don't know. I think I would show you if I could, but it's a air show, so let's see if I can find anything to show you really quick. Air shows 2025. Usually, yeah, like this, like. He'll work in a team, so he'll work in a team sort of like that, where he'll have like colour shooting out from the back of an aeroplane, which is really cool, and he can do really cool stunts with them. Yeah, I just thought I'd tell you that. So I'm gonna pause this here for now because I feel like that's as much as I can get out about Stark at the minute. Oh wait, actually, he has other things with my other OCs that he's friends with. So, for example, I think the only OC that I know for a fact he's friends with at the minute is Rory, and she's a little bit insane, but she's very sweet. She had a lot of bad stuff happen to her too, like she was trapped in some sort of facility for quite a while, until she escaped and went the opposite ways of her brother, who is part of another story. So Ramon is her brother. That goes into a whole nother thing of Tejo's whole story. But basically, she's friends with Stark, and she is like one of his closest friends. I'm also working on a DJ, who is going to be another one of Stark's close friends, and he's gonna be the one that helped to house him at some point. And I really like his whole thing. He also, I'm thinking of him, the DJ, also having other like connections with the gang beforehand. He comes from the UK though, because I wanted a British character at last. And yeah, so that's where I can get up so far. I think Rory and Stark would probably meet in college while he's on his scholarship. I don't think she'd do physics, but I think she'd do some other type of science, maybe something like biology. Like I don't know. I think she'd really like that sort of thing. So yeah, that's where I'm up to with him so far, and I will let you know if I find out anything. Well, not find out anything, but I might like organize my thoughts for the alternate universe to tell you all about it. So yeah, this is. I'm gonna end it off on his actual Pinterest board because that would be so cool. Yeah, so this is Stark, and yeah, this is Stark. I hope you enjoyed all the information I have to offer.